Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the attendance and partnership of Casa de Maryland, and I am pleased to welcome their Executive Director, Gustavo Torres, as well as Zainab Chowdhury from CARE and Laura Arroyo from Casa, who will also be delivering remarks shortly. Also joining me and available for questions is our Detention Center Director, Jack Kavanaugh. And I just want to thank Jack publicly for his years of service and dedication to not only public safety, but making sure that he does all he can for the best welfare for all of the inmates at the detention center. One of my top priorities includes ensuring Howard County is a safe and inclusive community where all residents are given an opportunity to thrive. Over the last 2 years, I've continued the work of maintaining policies that clearly protect our community of convicted offenders while upholding our commitment to just treatment for all members of our community, regardless of immigration status. We understand in the wake of national immigration policies that there are misperceptions regarding who is being detained in our detention facility. While it is true that Howard County does not currently participate and has never participated in the 287G program like some other jurisdictions during our entire 25 years of having this contract, we agree that the way immigration has been weaponized at the federal level in recent years is both troubling and unacceptable. We also agree that although the Howard County Police are not involved in any way with transporting ICE detainees in custody or to the detention center, it is simply not enough. The fact that ICE agents make the arrests, process all the intakes at their Baltimore field office, and then use a private contract to transport detainees to the detention center is simply not enough. The fact that the detention center does not and has never housed women or children is simply not enough. We have always recognized our duty to care for individuals in our custody and have strived to meet the highest standards for all persons detained in or committed to the detention center, including ICE detainees. Just over a year ago, when members of our community began their request for Howard County to end the contract, my office began meeting with and continued an open dialogue, education, and communication regarding their concerns. We held several meetings here in our office, as well as organized a visit and tour of the detention facility. Throughout our discussions with CASA and other stakeholders, our goal was to ensure the policy regarding the ICE contract with the detention center in Howard County, address community concerns about justice and fairness while balancing the need to keep our community safe as a top priority. During the COVID-19 pandemic, in order to keep the jail population low, the current detainees at the detention center under the contract with ICE generally have been convicted of or charged with serious crimes. Since then, we have continued this dialogue, and I am happy to announce today that we have proactively revisited and modified the criteria regarding the ICE detainees we accept at the Howard County Detention Center. This policy clarification will ensure that we only accept those convicted of felony offenses that meet Section 14-101 of Maryland's Annotated Code, and examples would include murder, rape, sexual offenses, and robbery. There is currently legislation pre-filed in the Howard County Council to completely end the contract. This legislation was introduced despite my administration's collaboration and finalization of these new policy changes with Casa de Maryland. I was unaware that this legislation would be filed and urged the council to consider our negotiated policy instead of moving forward with this legislation. Policy can be implemented quicker than the legislative process and would be much less divisive to our county and specifically our immigrant community. We believe that our policy clarification will preserve the public safety by ensuring that the contract between ICE and the detention center in Howard County only applies to the most serious offenders while maintaining our commitment to fair treatment for all members in our community. We will always welcome dialogue with people who are working to uphold Howard County's shared values of diversity, inclusion, and civility for all. And we continue to stand with immigrants in our community, whether they've been here for decades or are new to our community. I want to thank everyone who has engaged in this community conversation and cares about Howard County moving forward. That is the only way that we can stay unified and build a better tomorrow for all. And I'd like to now turn it over to Gustavo Torres, Executive Director of CASA.
Muy buenas tardes. Good afternoon, all of you. My name is Gustavo Torres, and I am the Executive Director of CASA. I am here this afternoon to let you know how strongly we support this policy. Mr. County Executive, thank you for your leadership. Thank you very much for showing this extraordinary courage to welcome the immigrant community to our county. 20% of the community in this county are Latinos or Asian Americans. And we are very pleased that this policy is going to fix some of the challenges that we faced with the previous policy. Therefore, I am calling everybody from the County Council to the rest of the community to keep working together to make sure that we welcome our communities, because we are making an extraordinary contribution to this society, to this county. I know how difficult it is for a local leader to resolve this issue, because from the White House, they trying to weaponize and to attack all the time the Latino and immigrant community. But what the county executive is doing today is to tell all of us that everybody, regardless of the immigration status, are welcome here. That we don't want criminals. Nobody wants criminals in our society. We want people who are making a contribution to the county. So again, on behalf of our 1,400 members right over here in our county, I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. County Executive. I truly believe that your leadership is an example in Maryland. Other jurisdictions, larger jurisdictions in Maryland already did this. What the county executive is doing is exactly to make sure that, exactly like other jurisdictions are doing, to welcome the immigrant community. So one more time, I'm here because I believe that it's very important to work together to address this issue and other issues that are impacting our county. I believe that is the beginning of go deep on welcoming the immigrant community in another very, very important issues that impact our families and our communities. So thank you very, very much. Mr. County Executive, thank you very much.
We're here today in solidarity with CASA and community partners to express our strong appreciation and support for Howard County Executive Dr. Calvin Ball's principled commitment to ensuring the basic dignity and humanity of immigrants in our county. This new policy announced today that essentially prohibits county agencies from collaborating with ICE except where required by law and except in cases where people have been convicted of violent crimes distinguishes local government from unethical, controversial tactics that have been employed by this agency. In past years, especially under the Trump administration, ICE's discriminatory policies rooted in xenophobia, white supremacy, and racism have needlessly compounded challenges for some of America's most vulnerable communities and populations, including immigrants, refugees, and Muslims. In past years, they've compromised trust, jeopardized public safety, and created massive anxiety and fear in communities across the country and right here in Maryland. Especially during this pandemic, when so many people are unsure and uncertain of what to expect. Immigrant communities, like everybody else, deserve to feel safe, and they deserve to have access to basic needs and resources without feeling targeted and afraid. This policy, we are confident, will establish and preserve trust in policing. It will demonstrate local government's commitment to public safety for all of its county's residents, and it will reassure immigrant communities that yes, you too are welcome here. You too are valued members of society. Today, County Executive Ball has demonstrated that he is on the right side of history. We are proud to stand here with him and with our community partners. We thank him for his leadership, and we encourage other localities to also follow suit. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jorge Benitez Perez. I'm a community organizer with CASA. I'm going to be translating for Ms. Laura here in first person.
Hola, mi nombre es Laura Arroyo.
Hi, my name is Laura Arroyo.
He sido residente por 14 años de Howard.
I have been a Howard County resident for 14 years.
Estoy aquí porque es un día muy importante para Howard.
I am here because today is a very important day for Howard County.
Hoy es el día que Howard County le dice adiós a ICE oficialmente, nos da la bienvenida a inmigrantes del condado.
Today is the day that Howard County says goodbye to ICE and officially welcomes us immigrants to Howard County.
Hoy es muy importante para mí porque el Ejecutivo Ball ha tomado la decisión de introducir una orden que hubiera prevenido la deportación de mi esposo.
Today is a very important day for me because County Executive Ball has made the decision to introduce an order that would be very important for me and had prevented the deportation of my husband.
Mi esposo fue deportado de Yesup por un reentre, no un crimen violento.
My husband was deported from Jessup for a reentry and not a violent crime.
Él es un padre ejemplar que nunca dejó que le faltara nada a nuestros 3 hijos.
He is a great example of a father who made sure our 3 children never lacked anything.
Para mí ha sido muy duro lidiar el día a día sin él, por eso estoy aquí.
It has been very hard for me to handle our day-to-day lives, and that's why I am here.
Porque no quiero que ninguna otra familia pase por lo que nosotros pasamos.
Because I don't want any other family to go through what we went through.
Esta orden es muy importante para mi comunidad de inmigrantes porque nos da la seguridad.
This order is very important for my community of immigrants because it gives us security.
Nos da la seguridad de que nuestras familias no van a ser separadas, nos da seguridad de sentirnos cómodos cuando interactuemos con oficiales del condado.
It gives us the reassurance that our families will not be separated. It gives us the reassurance that when we interact with local police officers, we will not be deported.
Esta orden es un gran logro porque ningún niño va a pasar el trauma que han pasado mis hijos.
This order is a great order because it ensures that no other child go through what my children went through.
Todo niño merece tener a sus padres durante momentos críticos en sus vidas mientras crecen. Gracias por escucharnos y apoyarnos.
Every child deserves to have their parents through their growth, their critical times. Thank you guys for listening to us and having our backs.
And this is your baby, I guess. Oh, he wants to stay with me. Oh, okay.
Questions from the press?
Can you just explain a little bit, in your opinion, why ending the contract with ICE or a solution like CB51 is not the right solution in Howard County?
So I think this takes a balanced approach to ensure when there are convicted felons of a violent crime, we do our part, while as we've seen over especially the recent times, the weaponization of ICE, we don't perpetuate that for folks who haven't committed violent crimes and been convicted.
Yeah, so I mean, just going back, I mean, the official stance of this contract has been that so far I think you said that only people with serious criminal histories have been processed. In my reporting, I found that there were some exceptions to that rule, and you know, if we were to go back through the archives, it would probably tally into several, possibly 100 cases, I'm not sure. But, you know, that being said, how do you think that this policy change substantively alters the contract as is?
So I think this clarification ensures what most people in Howard County generally agree, that if someone has been convicted of a violent crime, they should pay the penalty and they are not contributing to our community. However, we want people who are good people who contribute to our community not to be targeted based upon their immigration status.
And why is this, why is this happening now? You've been in office for about 2 years now. People have been protesting for quite some time, looking to the county to stop this contract, as we saw as recently as Tuesday. Why now? What prompted this decision to happen, right now?
So we've been very pleased to have conversations with Casa de Maryland and many advocates for about a year. We actually had our first conversations about these policy changes last summer. So this has been an ongoing conversation. And I think what we've seen, especially during COVID-19, as the policy has almost naturally evolved with us trying to ensure physical distancing and minimizing having too many people in the detention facility, that formalizing this policy clarification is not only good for health and safety, but it's also good for the values that our community upholds.
So would it be fair to say that this policy shift was prompted by the pandemic?
Well, I think it will be fair to say that we've been having this ongoing conversation for about a year.
And if CB51 does pass the county council, is that legislation you would sign?
Well, I think we have to allow the legislation to go through the legislative process as we usually do. There hasn't even been a hearing yet. We may even see the legislation be withdrawn or be heavily amended. I think sometimes we see, as they go through the legislative process and learn a lot more, not only from the public, but from others, that there are evolutions. And so we always want to respect the legislative process.
So, Executive Ball, I mean, from what I understood from your remarks, you said that with the policy clarification, folks with either charges or convictions could potentially be up for deportation. I just wanted to, bring up the case. There are cases where people are charged with things but not convicted. They're also wrongful convictions. So, do you plan to have any, preventative measures in place so that folks who ultimately shouldn't be deported, don't end up going through the process?
So this policy clarification focuses on people who are convicted of violent crimes under Section 14-101. All right, thank you all so much for coming.